All right, episode number 14. And today's guest, we have the Viking, Josh Maley, IFBB Pro. I bet that sounds good.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. We can do more podcasts like that.
Yeah, man. So you're here to tell us your entries for Room 101. Off you go, mate.
Straight in, fucking straight in. Let's go.
Straight in, man. Straight
Um,
in.
Didn't even warn
so
me.
no messing. So I said to you, like, I'm not necessarily like the best for this because I'm quite a chilled human being. And things that irritate me, I normally forget about straight away. But I have been giving it a think. I've been doing a bit of homework for you, taking it seriously. Um, and these are just things that I think everyone would benefit from if they did less. Generally, not just things that irritate me, but I think things that would benefit other people as well. And the first one is talk versus action. So we all know those people who, year on year chat, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they normally win a show or get a pro card or something, and they probably fall off the face of the earth halfway through the prep. And I think for me, the fact that people who talk too much, for a start, everyone kind of is aware of you. And unfortunately, in this day and age, the more people are aware of you, the more people want to see you fail. So I think that's never an overly positive thing. And secondly, and I kind of have learned the hard way here as well. Like there are certain preps I've chatted more. I wouldn't say ever kind of on the level that irritates me, but I've been more vocal about what I'm doing. And it's external pressure. Like bodybuilding is intense enough. I think, and I say this to a lot of my clients, like keep what you're doing to yourself for the most part, so you can just focus on the pressures we put on ourselves, which are enormous, and not have every Tom, Dick, and Harry kind of out there chipping away at like, oh, how's prep going? What are you doing? Oh, you're gonna smash it. You're gonna smash it. Because people love that. I think 2016, I came second in the universe, and this was probably the moment where this became a thing for me, because I had a lot of people telling me that I was going to win it. And normally I'm very good at blocking out the noise, but I started to believe it. And I just remember the feeling like second in the universe, fucking brilliant. I'd be buzzing. I got third the year before, probably the happiest I've ever been at a show. I loved it. And then the next year I got second, but because of all the talk, it took me a real concerted effort to appreciate what I'd done rather than just be like buzzing off the back straight away. So that's one thing, like talk, and like I said, I suppose I've gone off on a tangent in terms of like listening.
Oh yeah, we'll open up on that, mate. So that's such a good point, mate. This year, no. 2021 was the first time I did what you just said. So I just did my prep and I allowed it to happen. I didn't tell anyone. I was just doing it, and then on show day, my phone wasn't going mad, and I could just enjoy the day. And it was like my recommendation to anyone listening, like just like give that a go. It's like night and day, the difference. It's crazy.
And I know why people do it, like, because obviously with social media, like you want to take people on the journey, and I get that. And I suppose like what I've tried to do in recent preps is, show that I am prepping because I'm putting more physique pictures out there, but just don't really talk about it. And if people kind of ask questions, what show are you going for? I just have to play it down, even though I know exactly what fucking show I'm going for. I'll be like, oh yeah, just seeing how it goes at the minute. I've got a couple in mind. We'll see where I'm at.
I think it's easier said than done though, because it's with social media. Like when you're leaner, it looks better on Instagram. You take pictures and you get like, you must notice that you get a lot more attention from people. Like when you're in off season, you're kind of like, unless you post something really strong, and even then people are like, oh, that's strong, but people know we're strong anyway. Whereas on prep, like you're dieting, you're lean, you look good, and people are like, oh, like every picture, everyone's like, you look like really good. So it's tempting.
No, I don't. I think like I this year all the way through, I was posting progress. It's just then like how you, I suppose, talk about that progress. Because like I said, like nobody knew, not even my clients. Like I sent my clients like a message like the day before my first show. I was like, if I'm a bit quiet tomorrow, guys, just bear with me. Didn't even say kind of why. And then obviously went to my show, won my show, and they were like, oh, you didn't realize you were competing. And I was like, well, that's what I wanted. And also, if you do what we did, Ryan, and it goes well, people are like, fucking hell, that's amazing. Like you get a lot of positives. Whereas if you've talked a lot and a lot and a lot, and you're not letting other people down, but I guarantee you'll feel that way. You'll feel like you're letting more people down, the more people that, are genuinely kind of looking out for either your success or your failure, depending on their sort of way of doing things. And I think I've always been extremely attracted to like that whole, and again, it's not as easy to do these days, but like what Dorian Yates used to do, just hide away in temple. And then when it came to show day, keep his top on. Like that's something I always try and do. I keep my top on for as long as I can until I'm pumped. Not only to sort of like not even really to get in other people's heads, mainly because I want to look at my physique for the first time and think, yes, I look good, and like have that belief.
Yeah, do you know what? That's oh my god, that's quite an interesting one. No, I've never really heard anyone talk about that before. Backstage, like when everyone's pumping up and they're walking around with their top off. I'm like, man, what the fuck? No way.
Yeah.
I keep mine on until like 3-4 minutes before, and that's it.
I take mine off if I'm like getting sweaty.
I remember in Manchester, you literally disappeared. Like we were all, because like Connor and all of the guys were like about to jump on stage, and like everyone was like, "Where's Ryan? Where's Ryan?" And he just like pop up from the back.
Yeah.
Well, people were like asking me because they knew that like, and I was like, I don't know, I haven't seen him.
Well, yeah, it was me and Connor. Like we were warming up backstage, doing a few press ups and that, but I kept my top on. And I don't know, like if it got in his head or anything, but I was in my head. I don't know. It was better for me to do that. It just felt better. I didn't want to have this sort of like macho, like puff your chest out thing in front of one another. I kind of wanted to play my own game, kind of thing.
Well, Connor was like, he was on his own at the back, so I spent most of the time with him and Tom, and we were just chatting away, like nothing like like mind games or like whatever. It was chill, but you just weren't anywhere like about.
I like that though. Like it although it's not a performance sport, like that pre-stage window is still at like, and I think the bigger you are, the more you can maximize it. Like I can look quite flat 30 minutes before stage, and I can look like a completely different human after I've had a pump. And like I said, for my own self-confidence on stage, normally there's a mirror backstage. The first time I look at my physique before I get on stage, I want to be happy, which is fucking hard for me. I'm my own worst critic. So like the top stays on, and I try and keep my head down because I'm also a nightmare for looking at other people and thinking, wow, you look amazing. Like look at your arms, and I look at mine. I'm like, fucking, where are they?
Hey, do you know this? But this is one of the reasons why I was initially drawn to you, mate. I first came across you, I think, like the JP 2017. That's the first time I came across you, and I was like, shit. And obviously, I'm 6'3", so anyone who's my height or above and good, I'm like immediately drawn to, and that's why I was drawn to you. And I was like, shit. And that it's like a blessing and a curse, right? Because the eye is drawn to people like us because of our height. But it's also as you just mentioned, like it's very easy for us to look flat. It's very easy for us to look sort of, I don't know, like if we're depleted and with no pump, it's like,
Oh mate, like this is where like I almost stopped looking at myself in like the kind of 2 weeks prior to a show, because like I get so flat, and like to get to the level of condition that I like I need to go through it. But yeah, if you looked at me like on a Monday versus like a Saturday show,
yeah.
To be fair, there's probably like about a stone in weight different by the time I'm on stage, and like I just look like a sack of shit.
Is it easy to get lean, or does your body kind of?
I'd say it's probably easier for me to get lean. Yeah, like I've never had an issue kind of hitting condition. The main issue I've had in like recent years has just been hitting the peak week right. And like I said, I think the bigger you are, the harder that can be to manage, just because I know in the past, like I've done like sort of front loading, and give me a couple of days on normal food, I flatten right off again.
Did you do at the Arnold? Because I was at the Arnold, so I obviously watched the entire show, and you looked huge on that stage. Like, it was like when you come out, especially for someone that you could hear that like the crowd was like, fucking hell, like you could see that.
Yeah.
No, that was like that. So this is the first year where I feel like I nailed the sort of peaks. Like the first show, the regional I did, I got it pretty much spot on, and I just pushed it a touch harder. So it's nothing stupid with the food. It was just making sure that I had no kind of downtime. So like pushing what was the show for the Arnold on the Friday. So I think I did like Wednesday, Thursday pretty hard, kind of like 1,500 a day on each, and then obviously the show amateur was kind of earlier in the day, so I didn't have to have too much food beforehand. But I still had a decent kind of amount. I think as well, like sort of hydration and like, I think we're all a lot more aware. We've all done the thing when we started, like cutting water fucking stupid o'clock and all that. Whereas now it's just, stay pretty consistent.
So can I get that right? So show was Saturday mid morning, wasn't it?
So the Arnold's was on Friday.
Excuse me, sorry.
The amateur, and then and then I had to fucking manage from that until the Sunday at night.
Shit!
It's a bit of a nightmare.
All right, so
I was on Saturday about 1-ish.
Right.
So let me. I just want to. I think like quite an interesting thing is someone of Josh's size to talk about your peak. So you competed Friday morning to midday.
Yeah,
give or take. So how did that load work? Wednesday, Thursday, 1500.
Yeah. So like normal, like I don't deplete or anything. I just did normal food. Can you hear those dogs?
Yes. It's all right, man.
I asked them to behave, but they fucking won't listen. That should be better with the door closed. So yeah, normal food, which is fairly low. This is the thing, like when you're big, and generally you're depleting anyway, aren't you, throughout prep? That's the whole point. So yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, 1500. And then I think I did 3 meals on the day, like kind of maybe just 2 meals. I think just like cream and rice and whey.
What do you do with fats as well on the load day?
So just like whatever fats are there, no additionals.
Right.
Yeah, it's something I've played around with before, but it's just like for me to get the food in and to digest it, I think like the fats just disrupt or slow down digestion to an extent. I don't feel I really benefit. I've never I've done I did at one point don't know if I did it properly, but I trialed a sort of fat loading thing. I think it was the year before, and I got nothing out of it. Like high fats has never sat well with me. So even like an off season, I'll keep fats pretty low generally.
I think the whole fat loading thing is more for like the smaller guys.
Yeah, I think it's courses for courses. Like some people do it and they look fantastic, and you can explain a lot of this in science terms, but we all know that there's also application and individuality, and sometimes it just you do you.
Something should make sense, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
like one thing that never sort of made sense is like, let's say we spent like 1 week out or like 2 weeks out, your fats are like 30, and then all of a sudden you push them up to 100.
Even more,
what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, and in fact, aren't easy to digest. So that's kind of was my kind of thinking. Like, I didn't really struggle too much with digestion. I just got nothing out of it. I was like, there is no real difference between just sticking to my normal diet, and I would rather do that. So that's how I.
So over the years, I'm guilty of this. I'm really guilty of this, and this is why I can't self-coach. I mean, I did for a long time, and you do all the time.
Yeah.
But the reason what I realized is that I over deplete myself. I will fucking dig and dig and dig.
It's very easily done.
Yeah, and even this year, so Martin told me we do 1 day of depletion. It was literally just one. And in my head, I was like, can we just do more? Like I wanted to do more and more and more, right? And he's like, mate, you've been depleting for the last fucking 3 months. He goes, I just want to get one more bit out of you and whatever. But in my head, I always need to just go more and more and more. And it's and I think that's what's really impressive about you is the fact that you're able to self-coach and override these feelings.
Yeah, I'm a bit weird. Like my girlfriend's always saying, like you're very unique to be able to do what you do because she's about with me and like. I just switch off. Like it's not always a good thing. It's pretty hard in a relationship, to be fair, because I'm very good at just switching off. Period. So like, I don't let stresses like anything that stresses me. I'm like, I can just switch off from that. And when it comes to I suppose my own coaching myself, I just treat myself like a client, and I don't overthink. I don't know how I do it. I can't really explain it. Like I check in with myself once a week with visuals and like my weight and how I'm feeling, and I make my changes and I kind of stick to them. I don't go through every day and I'm not really thinking about should I be doing anything different. I'm just like, just follow your plan and see where you are in a week. But I think what you said there about kind of over depleting is something I've been very, very good at / bad at in previous preps. Like when you do it yourself, it's the bodybuilding mentality. More. You know, I could do an extra 5 minutes of cardio. I could do, you know, I could take those carbs down a little bit more. I could eat a little bit less. I could work a little bit harder. I tended to translate it to training. Like my training volume towards the end of some preps was fucking retarded. Like, and now everyone's like, yeah, you should probably do less, which I agree with. But I would just be like, no, I'll do more. I'll do a fucking more drop set. I'll do an extra set. I'll do this. And, you know, I look at my logbook at the end of prep and I'll be like, yeah, it's not great.
I think some people undertrain though. They're like, oh, you know, when they go, oh, don't waste muscle, or like, you know, you can't stimulate muscle, so just protect the muscle. And in that sense, you kind of like cut yourself short a little bit, because you can do more than you think, you know.
I think for me, like, I just don't increase it. I don't decrease it. I just don't increase it. And that's where, like I said in the past, I've definitely been guilty of, because at some point it is just drunk volume. Like, I'm just exercising.
What's your training wise? What do you do?
So I'm based, like, foundation is progressive overload. Like, compounds are top sets and or back off sets. Sometimes I'll just do like one top set, but then on like isolation movements, I'll do more sort of like the older sort of approach of like progressive sets where, you know, higher rep. So for example, like I did like delts the other day, or lateral raises the other day. I did like first set 25 reps, then 20 reps, 15 reps, 10 reps, and then last set was like a failure set, you know, around the 8 to 10. So just accumulate a lot more volume, because I think sometimes on progressive overload with, you know, like single joint isolation movements, that you just start shifting weight and ruining joints. I don't think you actually get a huge amount out of it. I think generally any isolation movement, the muscle benefits from slightly higher volume and that sort of way. And I think from a longevity point of view as well, it definitely helps.
Do you think there are certain specific, not even just like movements, but specific body parts that will respond better to higher volume, do you think?
I think like delts and quads were two that kind of strike out there. And
those are pretty good.
Hey?
They're probably your two best things, right? Would you say?
Yeah. Oh, well, certainly quads. Yeah, I can't fault them. Delts have come on a lot, and again, I think that is, you know, that's got to be something to do with that sort of training. So, yeah, again, just it's also down to sort of connection. Yeah, I think there's certain muscles where, you know, like for me, to be fair, although I have done plenty of volume through my quads, like now it's minimal because I can just like get a lot out of them in a very short amount of time.
That's like you tried, isn't it?
Oh, I get a lot. Yeah, I just feel it. Like, you know, you talk about feeling it. Like I can barbell squat and I can feel it in my quads.
Yeah.
I don't need as much, but it does make sense why they would respond to higher volume, because we think like so in like survival sort of sense, like they're kind of like their reason like is to kind of so you could walk long distances and things like that. So
yeah,
from that point of view,
that's definitely not a problem I've got. My legs are fucking stubborn, man. Fuck's sake.
Get that volume up.
Yeah, I know.
You do quite a lot of volume, don't you?
Yeah. Everything I do is the high rep sets always. What I find though is then when the frequency goes up, let's say I've got like, I don't know, legs every 2 or 3 days or so, 2 to 4 days, somewhere in that, then my knees struggle like fuck, right?
That's it, yeah.
So it's like,
and you're strong as well, so I imagine even like your higher rep stuff, you're still shifting some load on that.
Annoyingly.
Okay, more than twice a week, fuck that.
Even
splitting them quads, hams.
Yeah, but then it's about getting enough volume through my quads. I just feel like for example, I'm sure you guys are doing like less than 6 to 8 sets at least, easy, right? On quads.
I mean, I'm training legs like once every 10 days at the minute, so
fuck's sake.
But yeah, it's
probably a lot more, but quads just.
So I did train legs yesterday, and there was 8 working sets, and then there's going to be another 8 working sets in about another 3 days. So
I think I do like 5
every 10 days.
Yeah,
I'm probably doing like fuck no.
But that's working set, so there is going to be a little bit of sort of, like I said, the high volume stuff on the leg extension leading into the top set. So
right.
That's still like, you know,
I think that's like back for you, Ryan. Like, we probably, I speak about myself, like Josh, like I don't know what you do, but like for me, like backs I do a lot more for back. So
Josh has got a good back as well. Mind you,
Yeah, so for me, like my
good everywhere.
focus in this training block is like chest and arms. So like I'm hitting arms every session in some capacity, and I'm hitting chest.
You think that works?
I'll let you know when I've done a solid block of
As
it.
in better over compared to like an arm day.
I just like I get to a certain point in an arm day where I just stop feeling them. And it's quite early on, and it's not because I have an insane connection, it's literally the opposite. So I find that if I have like 2 exercises a session, or sometimes more, so like today was like chest and arms, so I did like 4 chest and then I think like 5 arms, so you know, and then like I just feel I get more out of it. Whether I will or not, I'm not sure. Like I said, this is like I've only started doing it coming off the back of prep, and I'm not really pushing anything at the minute. But it feels good. Recovery is good, and yeah, like I'm hitting. I do 6 sessions, and 3 of those sessions are sort of chest focused.
You're a little bit like me. Chest and arms is the things that I need to really focus on. My dog's that as well. Chest and arms. I have never done like mass amounts of chest volume, but arms. I remember in 2019, I had an off season. Like, in fact, when we trained together, you and I, in where was it? In Loughborough, wasn't it? Yeah. It was in that year, and I was off for 13 months in that off season, and it was a 6-month period where I was training arms every other day.
Yeah.
And from beginning to end of the off season, there was quite considerable growth. To be honest with you, you know. I'm not saying that that's like definitive proof, but it certainly did something, right? So
yeah. I think like at the end of the day, like you've got, I've never tried it like this, so that's the first thing. So you know, and I'm someone who, you know, I feel like you have to commit to something for an extended period of time. You can't just sort of assume after, you know, unless it feels like dog shit and you're getting injured, like after, you know, a month, anything's going to work. But in terms of like my priorities and like what I want to look like in the future, like I am satisfied with my physique, and if I have more chest and more arms, then I will be happy, or happier. Obviously I still want to build everything, but when it, like, if we're breaking it down to like the things I definitely want to see some improvement on, that's they're my priority.
I think arms is like one of those body parts that it can't be like big enough.
Yeah,
you can always have bigger arms. Like there's no bodybuilder that you look at him and think, he's got enough arms. He don't need more arms.
Yeah, but they're the kind of physiques that I like as well. Like, you know, that like the Phil Heath type, you know, like
just fucking balloons, like chilling out. Yeah, so that's
it's almost like what you haven't got.
100%. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. To be honest, every time I look at my stage photos, I'm like, all I'm looking at is just weak points. Like it doesn't really fully satisfy me to look at them, because I'm just thinking, God, I could just, like, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So,
and again, that comes back to where my head is at pre getting on stage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at everyone else, and you know, there'll be some unit with like big old arms, but probably a shit physique elsewhere. And I'm like, fucking hell, he's amazing. He's gonna smash me to the floor. Whereas, like, if you actually sat back and were like, yeah, he's literally a set of arms, like, chill out.
Hey, but don't you find, like, not being arm dominant means that you look at guys who are arm dominant and they always look like just relaxed. They look way better than they are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
like,
I get it.
Yeah.
Who's one person that you've competed and you thought, oh fuck, but then you beat them, both of you?
I don't know. Most people, I think, fuck, Ben, they'll smash me.
Yeah.
No, but like one that stands out that you got on stage and you thought,
so actually, now I've thought about it, I remember the first year I won the NAB of Britain. I think it was 2015. Stuart Core, familiar with Stuart Core?
Stuart Hall.
Stuart Core.
No.
Okay, so if you've got your phone, Google him now. So Stuart's like an old school bodybuilder, and it was a bit of a comeback for him. And he was like a phenomenal junior, and probably like back in early 2000s. And this guy's physique was fucking nuts. And obviously I knew he was coming. And again, when we come to the arm thing, if you can find a picture of Stuart Core bodybuilder, yeah, like arms, delts, fucking just everything. So he qualified for the NAB of Britain at a different regional.
Fuck.
And I was like,
he looks like a fucking, what was it, myostatin cow?
Yeah, literally.
He looks about like Andreas. What is it, Andreas Munzer, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like, but bigger almost.
Yeah, I think so. I think Stuart came. I think he either came second or third, and I won. And I just like I won on condition and on like overall shape, but fortunately he was a little bit saggy. But like still just enormous, so much tissue. And obviously like probably had like 10, 12 years on me as well. So yeah, that probably is like the most satisfying scalp that comes to mind.
Mine is probably quite obvious. You probably know it is, Chad, don't you?
Connor?
Yeah, yeah, Connor. Yeah, I don't know. Martin said to me, he goes, "Oh, I didn't want to," because I turned up and Connor was there. I said, "Oh, Connor's there," and he's like, I knew he was competing, but I didn't want to put you off." And it got in my head a little bit. I thought to myself, "What? Don't you think I can beat him?" Like,
right.
Yeah. So if anything, I saw it as a challenge, and I thought, hold on my day, I know I'm on. I know I'm on. I know I can beat him. I know I can.
It was funny because me and Josh were sat behind backstage, and like you walk in and he goes, "Oh, Ryan's here." I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Oh, he's going to take the show." And then Connor comes in and he's like, "Oh, Connor's here too."
He's going to take the show.
Oh, and he's like, "That will be good."
Yeah.
And then I speak to you and you're like, "I've got this." So it was good that obviously you had that confidence, but equally you said, "Look, if I lose to him, that's obviously completely fair and fine because he's one of the best, so it's fine."
Connor's amazing. When I saw him backstage, I was thinking, "Fuck me!" Like he was on, and I was like, "Shit." So winning that show was it was basically who won out of me and him would take the overall. So, but yeah, so beating him was pretty satisfying. Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
But yeah, who is there anyone that you haven't competed against that you would like to?
I mean, I suppose I'm in the pro leagues now, so I can pick fucking everyone and anyone.
Oh shit! Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I can just have a look, see what shows people are doing. I won't do another show till 24, but I'll see who's about and then just pick shows and just be a fanboy.
It was great to see you and Jamie go as well. That's what everyone.
I was so pleased that we got that opportunity because that was like, you know, a long time coming, and also obviously particularly over the last like 3 or so years we've come, you know, really like closer and closer. And I remember obviously like we trained at his gym through prep, and I remember like I'm not one to talk too much about potential results, but I remember one day I was like, just imagine if I like win the Arnolds and like, I can then get on stage on Sunday. And he was like, that'd be so good, it'd be so good. And there was like a few different things that sort of happened through that prep that almost like the stars aligned sort of thing when it all kind of came through. But who would I like to compete with? Honestly, I'm pretty shit with pro bodybuilding, even though I'm there now. Like I think I've spent so much time just focused on kind of my own journey. Like a lot of like pros I'm aware of, but I don't focus on because I feel like just nothing. It's not really too much comparison.
I tell you what, actually, sorry to interrupt. I feel like that's a real admirable thing about you. Over the years, I feel like I've got to know bits about you. Obviously, we don't know each other well, but what I've got from you is that you're very much on your own journey, and you're very much like the outside noise is happening, but you're just, you know.
I'm in my own lane. I think like I just remember like I said, my first show we spoke about this was 2010. You know, that was pre-social media, pre-Instagram. So like, and I came in as like a skinny, what at the time was like their classic class, the classic class. And despite not really looking like a bodybuilder, I remember how much I fucking loved it. And that's just never left me. And because of that, like the fact that I genuinely enjoy it, it just makes it very easy to kind of focus on me. And I suppose I've seen what that has done, like 2010, 2012, 2014, they were like the first years of competing and like the progress I made. And I was like, listen, all I need to do is do me. And then, you know, if things go well, like it's such a sport where you can't control anything really outside of your own actions.
It just shows you like time is such a like big factor. Like you cannot bypass time. I mean, no matter what you do, because people, like what you said about people compare themselves and all that stuff. It's almost like time is the like you can't get past time.
Yeah.
I always look at as I say, like the taller guys, and you all, when I say you all, you Jamie, are the two main guys that I've always looked at as like.
So, Josh Law's quite tall, wasn't he?
Josh Law's amazing, but he's more my height, you know, like there's like a
Yeah,
new
I
level.
think he's probably a little bit shorter than you. I think Josh is like 6'1", 6'2".
Ah,
Sort of same with Nathan. So they're not short guys by any means, but
Jamie and Josh are like that new level of height, you know.
yeah,
How
But
tall's Dan? Dan.
6'1".
Is he?
yeah,
Yeah. But no, but so when I was thinking, like as I say, I personally, and I'll tell you I may have even said it to you in person before, but like, yeah, you and him are always the guys that I'm looking at, right? They're like, for me, it's like the gold standard of tall bodybuilders. And I looked to see how long it took you to get good, like good, you know. And it was at least, you know, by Universe 2016. By this point, you were already at a very, very high level.
yeah.
So,
So like the first time.
Sorry, 6 years onwards was like your like good spell, right? And I'm currently in my 6th or 7th year now, like actually competing. So it's like, yeah, hopefully
where you are. Yeah. No, that's it. Like, and again, you know, I suppose you did the right thing looking at us rather than, you know, the short guys are obviously going to progress quicker, but time is still a massive factor. And the problem is, and in fact, let's bring in my second point at this point, it's comparison. Comparing yourself to other people. You know, I've seen it ruin so many guys either in the last weeks of prep or, you know, even before they even got going, they're looking at people who have either been at it for longer, you know, who are more genetically gifted, who, you know, there's so many things that, you know, there is nothing positive to be gained if you're someone who looks at other people and is very self-critical. I think if you can look at people, like if you looked at me and Jamie and were sort of inspired and use that as motivation, that's fantastic. And very humbling. But then there's also like, yeah, you know, if you looked at us and were like, fuck, like I'm never going to get there, then you're demoralizing yourself from the off. And you know, I've been guilty of it before, like, you know, in like a week or two before a show. And to be fair, probably if I'd looked at some of the guys I was competing against at the Arnold, so I knew, fortunately, there were a lot of foreign guys there, so I wasn't conscious or aware. But if I'd seen them, and I've seen them since on Instagram, and they look fucking like, I'd be like, they're going to smash me, like. But that's the thing as well. As a taller guy, one thing I've noticed is never once does someone see me in real life and say you look better in your pictures. They go, fuck, you're a lot bigger in real life.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's something else to consider. Like, Instagram is a highlight reel. You know, I was contemplating putting like a chest press video today. I'm shit at chest pressing, and then I saw like Mark Hector doing like a hammer strength, and I was going to post a similar thing, and I'm doing like a way less. So I was like, "Yep, delete that."
But that's but do you know what I've noticed with you as well is that you never physically write the weight that you've done on your posts.
Yeah,
and that's quite cool. It's like a different angle because you're probably the only person that I know that doesn't do that.
Yeah, I think it doesn't really matter. Like, especially with like some things, you know, especially as a bodybuilder now, I'm doing a lot of machine stuff. So like, you know, what it's not really comparable. Plus, I'm well aware that I'm not the strongest bodybuilder. So, you know, if we're going to talk numbers, it's not a game I'm winning. You know, I would rather kind of demonstrate the effort, the consistency. You know, people having looked at my videos 6-7 years ago, seeing, oh, he's still cracking on with that movement in that, you know, execution, that tempo, or that's even improved.
I think that's kind of bodybuilding, though, right? You know, you're showing what bodybuilding is all about.
Yeah. And it's not really an effort because, like, I am a bodybuilder. It's all I do. You know, I live it, I breathe it, I love it. So, I just, I could definitely show more, but again, I think social media can be all consuming sometimes.
The thing as well with like training, there's only so many times you can show like a chest press, and it's the same shit. It's like,
that's it.
It's almost like, yeah, you've seen it, you've seen me do that, you've seen me press the dumbbells like a million times. Like,
and also, like, I get bored of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is only so many. You know, in my program, you know, there's probably at the minute, you know, 6 pressing movements. You know, 3 or 4 rowing movements that might be, and again, it's like what we find interesting, like, you know, the slightly more compound stuff. And nobody really wants to see like a single arm tricep extension, like, you know, unless it's at the tail end of a reel or something like that.
Yeah, but on my YouTube, I get suggested people to watch. And do you know the amount of times I watch fucking Dexter Jackson run for a fucking shoulder workout? Never. Fucking never. Like, if I get to see some dude, like random dude from fucking Israel, deadlift 480 kilos, like stand it around, I'm like, fucking yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest, a lot of bodybuilding, it's not fun. Like, it's not, hold on, let me rephrase. It's fun to us, but to the onlooker, it's not
interesting.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's very monotonous. And I appreciate the people who do post that regularly, because, you know, it lets people understand that, this is it. You know, there is no
because you get that, like the same guy, the same hack squat every Tuesday. You're like, oh yeah, here we go again. It's like the hack squat, and you're like, fuck me, you did that, and then it's like one more rep, and you're like, you just think, fuck me.
Do you find well, actually, so let's take that onto like onto a client thing. Do you find that, so basically bodybuilding is boring, right? But that doesn't sell, does it? Right. So when you get a new client and they come to you and they kind of almost want you to, you know, forgive the expression, but like sell them some magic beans, right? So how do you get around that when a client wants, you know, the secret?
I mean, I'm very honest. I think, fortunately, because of the way I have, like you said, how I come across and how I have portrayed myself on social media, a lot of people, because I get the majority of my clients through Instagram, already have a feel for me. And often they come to me saying, I like the way you come across and you do things. So therefore, it's not really kind of too revolutionary. But I do sometimes get clients, more so the sort of, I suppose, lifestyle guys, who, you know, a month into a program, it'll be like, oh, I'm a little bit demotivated. I think I need like a change. And then it's just kind of sitting them down and being like, listen, I have no issue changing your program. But in terms of like, if you think it'll be beneficial, like my opinion is you need to rinse this for a little bit longer. Whereas obviously if I have like a competitive athlete, I'll be a little bit more forthright and be like, stop being a pussy. Like, you literally probably just found your feet with your numbers. And you can go there. And I also always refer back to, again, Dorian. I'm sure Dorian did the same back workout for like 6 to 8 years or something. So I'm like, listen, best back is one of the best backs in bodybuilding.
I was going to say, when you said about like your sort of volume or 4 exercises that you do, they're probably the same exercises you've done for the last like 6 months.
Yeah. And that's it, like even more, like, do you know what I mean? Like that, I think that the longer you're in bodybuilding, the more you realize that there are many, many exercises out there, but there are only a fairly small number that we actually connect and get things out of. You know, there are a lot of movements that, you know, other people will do that I won't do just because I've done them for an extended period. They don't feel good. They don't really get me any results. And I would rather stick to, you know, my 4 to 6 per muscle group or whatever it is, and just rotate through those and, you know, maybe vary reps.
To kind of bring back the arm work, I bet you've got a selection of exercises that you would not like kind of like change them up, because you're like, right, I know that exercise moves well and I can always kind of perform well.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic example, because the arms, like for me, I think any weak / stubborn body part, but when you find something that you can actually feel, because that's the biggest thing for arms and for chest for me. Like, you know, I can technically move load, but I lose feel, or I don't feel it from the off. Whereas now I have, like you said, those the arsenal of exercises that I know I can feel. Therefore, you know, I won't go elsewhere. And I get tempted. Like today, I saw someone doing I can't remember what it's fucking called. Like when you're lying face down on the bench and you're doing like a curl,
spider
curl. And I was like, oh yeah, that looks like good. That makes like sense, like anatomically speaking. And then I was just like, no, you've done that before and you fucking didn't get anything out of. Like, just stick with what you're currently doing. And again, you know, the impatience and, like, I suppose the boredom aspect is there, but we just have that ability to focus on like the long-term satisfaction when you know you're doing the right thing and you see the results, which do take time.
Deferred gratification, like, you know,
that's it.
It might be a bit shit now, but it's worth it in the long run. Do you know what fucks me off, actually? Something I was just thinking there, right? When we're talking about weaker body parts and someone says to you, like they almost assume that you forgot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like
on your pictures, like after a comp, it's like, oh yeah, good physique, we could do with more arms. I'm like, bruv, I fucking know. I've been working them for 6 years. I'm just trying to find like what works.
People are like, yeah, well, the thing is with chest, right? What you should try is you should probably try incline, right? But just pinch your shoulder blade. I'm like, they honestly think that you're like some caveman just.
Yeah, he's just like gone in there and just like done flat bench for 10 years and be like,
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not working.
Like, trust me, I'm trying. Believe me,
Yeah.
like I didn't just forget. Like, actually, one of our mutual friends, Chad, Aaron Jones, he said to me once upon a time with my arms, I said they're a little bit stubborn. He went, "Have you ever tried heavy barbell curls?" And I went, "Yes." He goes, "Yes, you just try loading them up." And I was like, "Right, okay, cheers, mate."
Again, it's like that's that sort of obvious feedback side of things. I know me and Jamie have spoken about this. You know, Jamie obviously being a pro since 2018, every fucking show, what's his feedback? Oh, you need to get bigger. It's like, no shit. Like, what do you think we're trying to do? Every year, I think, you know, and then he has got bigger, but they still want it. I think that's what kind of is like got to him eventually. It was just like, how fucking big, and not like obviously.
Sorry. I think this year they fucked him. Like, he should have, some of the shows he should have placed way higher.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He doesn't look small in the lineup. I don't understand what they're seeing, what they're looking at. I'm not looking at the same thing.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, I don't. It's tough shit. But again, like I think I'm going into like my, I suppose, pro career from a very like a rational place. Like I've now exceeded almost like any expectation I had, so I can now really enjoy bodybuilding again as if I were like a newbie. Like there's nothing for me to lose. So yeah, I'm more focused on just bringing the best physique than the physique that I want to bring. You know, at the end of the day. Sorry, my dog's playing with a chew toy. I was like, are they being sick or?
Sorry. So on that note, that's an interesting one because it's come up a few times on this podcast. Like basically me talking about if ever there's a point where I get a pro card, then you know, where does that leave me? Because I'm under no illusion. I'm making no impacts in the pro league. I kind of accepted already, and that's okay. But I think my question to you is, how do you feel about that prospect? Being 6'6", I think. Yeah. How does it make? What does it put your head at? What kind of?
So I think because I've always been so self-centered and like so kind of focused on my own shit. Like I've never gone out of my way to win a pro card. I've never gone out of I put myself in a situation where it's a possibility. Same with the universe. Like that didn't become an idea until like I'd done my first universe and like I came third and I was like, oh, maybe I could win it. Like, you know what I mean? So I've now, you know, if I was forced to retire, I'm very happy with where I'm currently sat with regards to sort of what I've achieved. And I am, yeah, like you, very understanding that as a pro, unless something miraculous happens in the next 2 years and I can put on 50 pounds of muscle, which quite frankly sounds miserable because I already know what 350 pounds feels like.
Fuck me.
Then like I'm not going to be competitive. And you know, I'm 12 years deep. And I've since day one committed myself. You know, it's not like some of these guys who, you know, off season is a time to chill out. Like I'm a very OCD person. I've been very structured, very kind of clinical with it all. So this is 12 years deep, and this is, you know, my progress is slowed each year. So, you know, there's only so much I can eke out of me in the coming couple. So I just want to enjoy it. Like I know I have the potential to. Similar to how Jamie started to see when he realized that he wasn't going to be getting the love from the judges, but he was getting the love from, you know, like the supporters and the fans and people just appreciating someone who isn't your typical, you know, 5'8" bodybuilder really trying to push boundaries. I think I'm just looking forward to, you know, if he's still about, standing next to him or filling those shoes for a little bit of a time. And yeah, just going into every show with no pressure. And who knows, no pressure, no stress could be a very dangerous combination.
That's good.
That will get. Sorry, go on.
No, you go, mate. You go.
I think that will get remembered though. You're gonna. So guys like Jamie, like yourself, it kind of leaves a lot more of a lasting impact.
Yeah.
Like how many guys can say, "Oh, unless you're like." There is a guy. What's the French guy?
Jamie's posted him before, hasn't he? He's like 6'6" as well, or something like that, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the one? But anyway,
like the classic guy.
No.
He's open.
Morgan Ast.
Who?
Morgan Ast.
Morgan Ast.
Him.
Yeah. He's not tall, but he's fucking I mean, he is tall, but like not Jamie.
He's ginormous.
He's fucking heavy. Like
He's,
like
he's, he's not Josh's height.
No, I'm sure like people say he is, but like I've seen him with others, and I'm like, it's one of those where, I remember when I saw Tony Freeman in the flesh, and I was like, I'm sure you said you were like 6'5", and I'm like, you're like 6'2" at best, mate.
Yeah, do you remember like the stats of wrestlers was always exaggerated. It's like he's an 8-foot wrestler, and you're like, yeah.
I always wonder that about strongmen. Like when you watch World's Strongest Man, it comes up with their weight. It's like weight 500 pounds. I'm like,
Eddie Hall. They're like Eddie Hall. He's meant to be like 6'3".
Yeah.
He walked past me like at the Arnold. I'm like,
no,
he's barely like 6 foot. He's like my height. I'm like, no way he's 6'3".
Yeah, but even when Eddie Hall says about how big he had to get, like, so even him talking about himself, it changes. He's like, I had to get to 440 pounds, and then 2 weeks later, I was 420 pounds, and I was like, what? Where the fuck do these pounds go, mate? Come on. But yeah,
especially when it comes into like the 400s, it's not like you're 200 pounds,
Yeah, I think what people don't realize as well, again, I'm tall and I'm big, but you're taller and bigger. So it's like people don't quite understand how much fucking food that people like us need to have to consume. And I think we actually touched on it, I think maybe the last episode. Do you feel that it has an effect on your waist? The sheer volume of food in your stomach in the off-season?
So that's funny. So like when I spoke earlier about like moving forward, I want to bring the physique I want to bring. Like that involves a smaller waist. Because I have noticed, and obviously like when I won my pro card, gratefully, like a lot of kind of bodybuilding outlets gave me like that 5 minutes of fame. But therefore there's a lot of people who don't know me and who are very much armchair fans, kind of saw pictures, saw posts and commented and things. And there were a few things on like my gut, and I was like, I've not got a fucking gut, but like I know what they're talking about because I can see it in like certain transitions and just a slight distension, and lack of control, and that does bug me like massively. So like next time I step on stage, I want to be super tight in the waist, and that's just, I suppose it's laziness, like it's off season, whereas I'll happily kind of promote people to do vacuums throughout the year. Like I just sort of like, fuck it, I'm going to eat the food and do the training. I'm good with my cardio, but that's one thing that can be improved on. So yeah, I definitely think, like, I know for a fact my waist has got bigger over the last like 3 or 4 years. And although the rest of me has, it's, at a point where I don't really want it to continue to move that way.
Have you ever, because I'm feeling it right now, I said it in the last episode, I feel like right now, as in this off season, it's the biggest I've ever been.
Yeah.
I feel like I wonder and I worry if my waist is going to come back. Like I'm like, have I done permanent damage in this off season where I've like, because honestly, Josh, like I go to bed sometimes, mate, and it's like it's fucking ginormous. Like,
I know, man. I fucking
and you got like roll out of bed. In fact, Chad, you probably do the same. I don't know, like So do you ever think about that? Do you ever think that like is this like permanent damage?
I mean, I think like our organs are bigger. I think we definitely have more inside. I don't think anything's sort of permanent, but in terms of like competitively, it's quite hard to balance.
That's what I mean. Sorry, I don't mean. I mean like visually.
Yeah. I mean, it will be interesting. Like I said, like in my mind, like I feel like I can improve my waistline without sacrificing size and hopefully still growing in the right places. But I just think it needs a hell of a lot more attention. I think really you can tell people this, but until you experience it, it's quite hard to actually like commit to making the change. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like, oh, it won't happen to me. It'll be right.
Would that include like food changes?
I think like, so for me over the coming, like I said, I don't want to compete till 24. So I don't plan on pushing body weight probably as heavy as I have previously. So I've been kind of 340 plus in the mornings, eating, obviously a huge amount of food with that. And I think having now like a longer time frame, and given the areas of my body that I want to improve, like they're not chest and arms, they're not bigger muscle groups, so to speak. So I think potentially there is room to sit in that surplus without consistently just pushing and pushing and pushing.
Do you think it's possible to maybe almost sit, let's say, like maintenance, and then center the food around those body parts? Do you think there'd be merit to that, or would you rather be in the surplus more consistently?
Yeah, I just from it, and again, this is potentially a lazy answer, but just from like ease of structuring your week, like I don't really like putting more food on particular training days. Like, I don't know if there's a huge amount of benefit at the end of the day. After a certain point of food, like if you're in a surplus, slight surplus, it doesn't matter too much. I'm going to tell these dogs to shut up because they're
mate. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I don't know if you can hear them. In fact, have I got like a couple of minutes to go through a wee as well?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
All right.
Go. Welcome back. Yeah, my dog's going mental as well, mate. My dog's going mental.
Yeah.
So he's
I don't know if it'll help. I've got 2 doors closed between me and them now. I've got the football on to keep them company. I don't know if they're just getting excited. So,
shit. Yeah. So where were we at?
Tell us what's like a typical off-season dev food for you.
So it feels like a lifetime ago, really. So, I'll go actually. Like, so one thing I'm doing differently for now, at least, we'll see how long it lasts. Is normally it's like 6 meals a day. I'm only running 5 at the minute, with the idea of just having like that longer digestive time. So that's something I've changed since prep, and it made sense as well because obviously post prep hunger's pretty high, and I think having smaller meals isn't necessarily that optimal when you're fucking starving. I'd rather eat more. So typical off season calories go sort of 7,000 plus. Carbs normally, hitting towards the 1,000, protein 450, and then kind of fats, whatever is left really. My food doesn't tend to change too much. I don't eat. Typically, I've not eaten too much sort of poultry. I tend to have a lot of like fish, so I normally have 2 or 3 like white fish meals a day, which is extremely uninspiring. But like, I don't hate them, and they like digest very easily. So I'd normally have like 2 or 3 white fish, or like 2 fish and 1 chicken, couple of whey, and then like eggs for breakfast, something like that. Again, like carb sources, you just find after a certain point, you find what digests. So rice, cream of rice, pretty much the majority of things. I've never been one, like I've done the cereal thing. I don't really do that anymore. Like I find it gets old very quick, especially when you're sort of piling in, the amount you need for like a post-workout meal, for example.
I literally put a story up of like 200 grams of Rice Krispies in it, that fucking big of a bowl.
I think it's a mental battle. Mind fuck before we even started it. Like,
so I find them a lot more palatable than like fucking chicken and rice for me personally.
That makes sense. I think like I have a lot of fruit in my diet like that. That's one thing that like I could never kind of get enough of, and that certainly kind of helps. And that's something like I remember probably who I was talking to the other day. But that's one thing that I think, I don't know if you experienced it, but when I started bodybuilding, is everyone's dog going crazy now?
Yeah, I think he's got like 3.
Okay.
No, I tell my dogs to fucking shut up.
They're all doing that. I know when I started bodybuilding, as soon as I started bodybuilding, I think it was that era where it's like fruit was like the devil. I was like, I've never had fruit. Whereas like now, I'm like, I have fucking so much fruit, and it massively helps that satiety and that sort of sweet sensations as well. Like,
do you have any? What would be your tip or tips, if any, for someone who is in off season struggling to get food in?
Cardio in the morning, steps after meals, just move a bit more. Like again, and I've done this. I was having this exact conversation about off season the other day and what's changed. I can't remember. But probably on the podcast I did when I said I was doing one last week. I think we covered this, but it's like when my first off season, it's like minimal movement. Like I wouldn't even want to like do any like walk anywhere. Like no cardio. Cardio is the devil. Fucking movement was the devil. Be as lazy as you can, eat as much as you can, train as hard as you can. But at that point you just sort of accept, maybe this is just like this sluggish, horrific, non-digesting state is just normal. And that was at an age where I think mid-20s you'll eat shit. Like I've done some grim stuff as a bodybuilder in my mid-20s, like piling food in, being sick, straight into another meal to get that back in. And I think now like just no fucking chance. Even if I thought that was good for me, no fucking chance. So So yeah, cardio and activity. And if you actually think about the calories that you're burning relative to the calories you're probably able to get in and actually make use of, it's a no-brainer. Stick to foods that, like I said, digest well and you enjoy. So if that is, your more refined carbs, like, I've got a couple of clients who like fucking, I'm like, how do you eat so many bagels? They're like, no, I like them. Like, they're like every week. I'm like, what could we eat more of? And they're like, could I have another bagel? I'm like, you're having like 6 a day. Like, if that's gonna, like, if that's sitting all right, go for it. There are no rules. So yeah, food that digests well. Try.
Toasties was like this time this year. That was the thing for me. I was literally doing toasties like 4 times a day.
Oh man,
Again,
wherever it takes, innit? Wherever it takes.
No, but because how easy is it to eat that?
Yeah.
Compared to like rice.
One thing I did, like, I think it was last off season, was wraps, but like my rice and fish, or what, a rice and chicken in a wrap. It's just like, I don't know. There's something about when you eat something in a wrap. Probably shouldn't do that too much.
Yeah.
In a wrap, it goes down.
For me, the easiest one is just basically adding nice sauces to the chicken and rice. So recently I've been into Thai green, which is obviously very fatty, but like a bit of it makes me get it in way fucking easier. So,
but also, if you're off season, like, what are those extra calories?
Yeah.
They're not going to do any harm. So no, I
like fruit juice. Do you like fruit juices?
I have used them in the past. I think when calories get kind of like carbs get super high, I'll probably bring them in more. But yeah, I find I can kind of get a decent amount of food in now without too much issue. Yeah, but again, like I say, it feels like quite a long time since I was off season, because
it's good that you've got yourself to that point, but like, the things that you said, I did some crazy things with food, but the thing is that got you to the point where you were at. So there was definitely some merit to it. But now for people watching who are probably at the like the beginning of their journey, so to speak, they might not get away with what you're doing now.
So what I'd say is, like, I did my first show and I knew that I could like do a prep and I could get lean. And I think as soon as I'd had that, then I was not scared of getting fat. And I think, although it's a tricky one and there's not really any rules, and in terms of being a coach, it's quite hard. I've got some younger clients who I will push a lot more aggressively, because I know that they can diet, and I know that, like, a couple of nasty off seasons, really pushing the boat with food, you can put on a lot more tissue than maybe being a little bit more sensible. And then as you kind of get older, your body starts fighting a little bit more, so you've got to be a little bit smarter. But again, it's quite a hard thing to advise, because there aren't really any direct parameters around that. But I think if you're someone who has the ability and has proven to yourself that you can get in shape, then don't be scared to just eat.
Is it harder to get in shape if you've gotten fatter, would you say? Because we had this chat, didn't we? If you asked, didn't we ask Martin, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think it will take longer, but I think if you've got in shape once, it's more the mindset. Like, you can put yourself through it. And I think
that first initial like part, say from, I don't know, let's say you get to let's say your lean weight is 100 kilo, and you get to 130. That first 17, 18 kilos kind of you're still eating a lot. It's still kind of easy.
Yeah. I think it's so hard, like, because I know there are guys, like, I know like Lee Priest has sort of preached a similar sort of thing about, don't be, and I've heard quite a few top guys speak about that, in the early days, don't be afraid of like having some really big off seasons, eat big to get big kind of vibes. Ron Partlow, Dusty, they've talked about it. But and I think it's more like just the amount of tissue you can put on, although you'll put on a lot more weight. Like, when you actually cut it back, say you were playing it safe and say you went to like 115, there's still going to be fat gain in that. It's not 15 kilos of tissue, so you maybe put on 5 kilos. Whereas if you push to 130, you could potentially put on 10 kilos in the same frame. Yeah, yes, you might need a little bit longer when it comes to a diet, but I think in a certain time frame from lean to lean, there is a greater scope for
That's interesting. So if let's say you had a year, 1 year off season, and in that year you have one person, let's just say they're twins. Yeah. Let's say they're twins, right? One person gains 15 kilos and they're fairly lean-ish, you know, and then one of them gains 30 and they lose a bit of condition. Maybe they're able to push a bit more in the gym, like, you know, like strength numbers and things like that. Would you say that the person who got bigger is likely to have more muscle?
I think if they're at that younger, more like starting out age, yeah. I think if you're someone who is like my age and does that, I'm not going to put on a considerable amount of tissue. Like I'm just going to run into health complications probably. But I think when you are sort of in your 20s, there is certainly scope and benefit from that.
Would you say performance is the biggest driving factor? So like speaking for myself, for example, like I found that like 250, my performance was like sky high. I was like really strong, like peak strength. Now I got to 275. At 275, I felt like dog shit. Like my sessions were shit, always full up. You know, when you eat so many carbs and you like go to the gym, you're bloated, you feel like shit, you can't get a pump. Yeah. You're like, I just felt worse. So that was like when I kind of said to Louis, I said, look, I can't really, it's not beneficial for me to push to 280 to like, you know, or past.
So like my argument there in terms of the benefits of it, and again, it's persons dependent, kind of experience dependent, where you are in your journey. But by pushing to 275 and experience that extreme discomfort, next time you hit 275, you'll find it a hell of a lot easier. Because I know, like I first hit like this is when I worked in kilos, but I was like 150 kilos in an off season. I think it was like 2015, 16, and I only get to that off season sort of now. But like I was walk 10 meters, I'd be fucking out of breath. You know, every set I do in the gym would be like a near death experience from a cardiovascular point of view. Whereas now I can get to that body weight, and although I don't enjoy it, like it's very bearable. Like I still feel good, I can still perform well. And I think again that sort of cardio side of things it also ties into having some cardio in an off season, so that you don't get super unfit as you get super heavy.
Even still, like lower back pumps was the biggest thing. Like,
yeah,
I'll do one set of barbell row and I'm fucked. Like the rest of I'd literally have to like go home because I would just feel like the rest of the workout almost felt counterproductive.
Yeah, but I think from experience, like I've had that and I've not suffered back pumps for a very long time. And whether that's because I got to that level of discomfort and weight early and then have like never needed to pass it, so to speak, and still see progress. So I suppose that every year, like my off-season weight's been similar between like 335, 345, say, but my stage weight has been ever increasing along that journey.
What's the first time you got?
As a percentage, it's always smaller. Like you're only going up. Yeah,
exactly. So like I think like last off season was like 340, and I was on stage at like 298. It was probably the first time I hit 340. I was probably on stage at fucking like 270.
When did you first hit it though? When was the first time you hit? When was the first time you hit 340?
So it would have been about kind of 6 years ago, probably. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
That was when I was just like, it was like all I wanted to do was just be heavy. Like that was it, because I hadn't. It was still the novelty factor, so I was still excited by it. So although I felt like shit, you're still inspired by the numbers. Whereas now, like as I get heavier, I start dreading it. I'm like, oh fucking, I know what's coming. This is not gonna like just that general heavy feeling.
You find like you'd struggle get to a certain point, and you're like, say 320. And that's like kind of like the new weight, and then you're like, right, how do I get to like, and your body just stalls. Like, do you pull back on that point, or because that's a lot of fucking weight? Like, I can't even picture. Like, for me, saying like 270 sounds like a lot, but 340 is like a.
Yeah, I think, like I said, when I hit that, I was at that point in bodybuilding, and my kind of like bodybuilding was everything. All I was doing, I was working in a gym. I was picking gym shifts that allowed me to work for kind of short periods of time so I could train and eat. And I was basically probably more of a professional bodybuilder than I am now because I have more sort of career commitments. and it would be like each meal would be an event, like fucking 30-45 minutes. And I remember kind of one of the meals being like 200 grams of pasta, like 300 grams of beef mince, as much cheese as I could get on there, like literally just fucking piling calories. I was putting olive oil and everything, like it was going out fashion, just as many. Like I wish that was at a point where I just sort of like tracked my food, and like in terms of like, I'm eating this today, and if my weight goes up, I won't eat anymore. And if it does, like, and I also kind of just kept pushing as well. Like, although my weight was going up, I'd be like, fucking, I'll just keep eating more, just keep eating more. So yeah, I was so obsessed with getting heavier, sort of lost track of, just disconnected to that feeling, because it was still so exciting. Whereas I suppose this is sometimes where knowledge can be a bit of a restraint. If I knew what I knew now, I'd be like, oh, digestion, oh, like health, but like it's fucking bodybuilding. Like at a certain point, it's very
I mean, a lot of guys who with more experience will be quick to poo-poo a certain method, but it's like, well, look what got you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like that shit worked. You might not be optimal or whatever, but it worked. Like it really did work.
And I have had conversations with like guys who I've seen potential in that younger bracket, clients, and I'd be like, listen, like, I know there's a lot going like out there at the moment about, this and that, and like say optimal stuff. But I said, like, I think you're in a position where we can kind of throw that out the window if you want. But obviously I don't want to push you into anything that, if your self-confidence goes to shit, if you get too fat, I don't want to be the guy who's done that to you, because I did it to myself. So it's like easy to do. Do you know what I mean?
We spoke about this last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
About having a fat face in it.
Yeah. Oh, mate, like there's a photo, and this is before I had a beard. Like the beard hides numerous sins. I got quite a round head when I'm fat, and I think I was taking fucking like Deca and D-bol as well, because I didn't know any better at the time. So I was just like a big fat moon-headed water balloon. Yeah, blood pressure wasn't even a thing. God knows what that was at.
Oh man, but I think there's some merit in that. Like you say about touching weight, to allow your body to know what it feels like. So next time you get there, and I think the same applies in the gym. So sometimes, when you're pushing the envelope in terms of fucking squat, bench press, whatever the fuck it is, like just physically feeling it. So then when you come around to it next time around, your central nervous system's a bit more primed for it. You're just more psychologically ready for it. You know what I mean? And
definitely,
I think there's merit in and out of the gym.
Yeah. And it's probably one area that I haven't exploited or explored as much in the gym. But like, I know obviously Jordan was big on that, like, touching weight for like sort of 1 to 3 reps. And it makes a lot of sense, because if you touch a weight for 1 to 3 reps, of course you're going to be able to lift heavier load. And then if you do then a back off set that's a 6 to 8 that you normally do fresh, and you've done a fucking heavy weight, you're probably going to feel really good when it comes to that, because it's going to feel light.
Yeah, did you know, for years, me and Louis actually, we used to do that. So for example, I was going to go in for a set of bent over rows, and I knew that I wanted to get like 200 for fucking 10 to 15, right? I would purposely go up to like 250.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the form was not good, but
cool.
but I'd fucking grab it and I'd just fucking shove it for like 1 or 2 reps, and then when you go down to 200, it feels like nothing.
Yeah.
And I always felt there was merit to that. I always liked that.
How I warm up still for my deadlifts. Let's say 270 is my top set. I'll go to 280 as my last warm up, 1 rep down to 270.
Yes.
I always do that anyway. Yeah.
That's something like I say, I've never done that. I think just because, like, again, we all have things where we're willing to push certain areas harder. I've always been like a little bit too scared of injury. And I've never had any injuries, touch wood. Now, maybe because of that, who knows?
Yeah.
Like I said, this is the problem, or not the problem, but this is the issue you run into is, like you said, you can't have 2 exactly the same people doing 2 different things and then comparing at the end of it. So you just sort of got to.
So you never used to, like, back in the day, like max out, come in like chest, 1 rep with like 200 kilo bench to show everyone off, and then go to your...
The only time I did sort of 1 rep was when I was right starting. It was fucking unimpressive as hell. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't inspiring to anyone. It was almost to like just get to semi-normal numbers, like, oh, let's see if I can do 100 kilos today. So yeah.
Well, there's some merit in that. Like, he's never been injured, Chad. And have we been injured?
We've fucked.
Yeah, like I said, it's swings and roundabouts.
Sure. I don't know. We just used to like max out like every workout. Like go in every workout, max out, then move into the actual work. So
Yeah.
kind of still stayed in a little bit. I'm like, I'm still gonna do like.
Well, do you know what?
I think like it's a good intensity, a good mentality to have. You know, like I think there's so many people going into the gym these days so focused on perfect execution, and again, it's a very fine line. Like this is where there's so many sort of intricacies that you can't generalize or talk about it too openly, because you know there'll be one person who hears me talk about, oh, don't focus too much on execution, but really should. You know what I mean? Like they should for them, and there'll be others who are like, you know, really focused on execution, and they're the ones I'm sort of saying, listen, just bring a bit more intensity to your sessions.
Do you not think if you're like doing a loading set of like 5 to 9, not 5 to 9, but like 4 to 6, your execution's not going to be like
perfect
the same way you would do on a 12 rep. If it was, it probably is a 12 rep.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think for me, it's a lot of down to sort of like, can you have a level of control over that to sort of, I suppose, at least mitigate risk somewhat.
And I think there's definitely some scope in what does level of control mean? Because to some people, I've got a client who sent me a video this morning, in fact, and it's just everything's like slow motion, right?
Yeah.
But he won't watch it, but I'm not mocking him. Like I want him to be better.
Yeah.
But you know, he's doing an RDL with like 60 kilo on the bar, you know, and it's like.
No, I've had those clients before. They sent me a video, and I've messaged them back. I said, "Is this a warm up set?"
Yes, yeah.
And they're like, "No, that was my top set." I was like, "Right, we need to have words."
Yeah, this you need to nip that in the bud early, right? This guy, I've only had him for like 3 weeks, and I'm glad I've caught onto it already.
Yeah.
I've had clients before where I've had them like 6 to 12 months or even more, and I'm like, and I get a video, and I'm like, oh man, fuck.
Or like I sometimes like they'll post a video on Instagram, and then I'm always in a complex because I'm like, they've not sent it to me, so I don't know if they want my critique, but like I feel obliged. But then I'm like, do I then just come across as like a hater? So I'm like, I'll sit there for a while, and I'm like, how long have they been a client? What's their sort of mindset at the moment? And then like,
how sensitive are they?
I'll message them like, delete that.
yeah, you would. You actually would.
I would literally like, delete that.
What you like it when you get tagged in stuff and you're like not proud of their physique?
Oh, bro, like no, but look. The thing is, you don't want to mock, but it's almost like if you, because that only happened once. But like I said to the guy, look, stop posting pictures until you look decent. Yeah. I don't want people to look at you and think, oh, he coaches him, like, because people don't know. Like, you look like shit now. I don't want people to think like, do you know what I mean?
It's true, yeah. Like sometimes, like I'll get tagged in a video and it'll be like, we hit delts today, and I'm looking at form and I'm like, don't tag me in that shit, motherfucker. Fuck's sake.
Or if you see like they're doing something that you haven't prescribed,
you get dragged into it.
Yeah. Or if they're doing something you haven't prescribed, like.
Do you know, I used to fuck me off in Spartans. I used to have quite a few clients just walking around, and I know that's not on their plan. And then a bit like you, Josh, I'm like, do I say anything, or like, should I just let them crack on? But I'm the kind of person, I can't let it go. I can't. I have to go and confront you and be like, look, motherfucker.
Yeah. I had a new client. I had a new client fairly recently. I think I've been with him like 2 weeks, and he tore his pec. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I was like, how did you do it? Like, and he was like, I was doing flat bench, and I was like, let's program up. I was like, 99% sure this isn't on your program because I don't program flat bench, but I will double check before I go at you. And I was like, oh, what? Like, that's not on your program. Like, why were you doing it? He was like, oh, I was training at a different gym, and I was in a rush. And I was like, very hard for me to have sympathy right now, mate.
Yeah. And also, what does being at a different gym have to do with like I'm sure you didn't prescribe some like bizarre fucking chest.
I think it was just like he went from like a flat machine press, and he thought, flat. Do you know what I mean? I was like, even if you just did flat dumbbells, like it's almost like anything but that.
I know.
But, anyway, it is what it is, and then you can't, like I said, you do your best as a coach, but there are always going to be things slightly outside of your control. And just one of those.
I don't know why people are paying money. Like they pay money and then they don't. Let's be honest, right? Even the best of the best are probably doing 95% of the diet. Like no, there'll be a couple of people 100, but then most people are probably going to fall in the 90% adherence bracket. Yeah. And then if you're not doing the training, so what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Coaching is a funny one. Yeah, you definitely find the clients. Like I have some clients who I know they're on it because they're they'll message me, they'll ask me stuff, they'll send me pictures, like they'll make me work, which is, I have no issue with that, because generally if they're making me work, it's probably because they're working damn hard, and then you get the other ones who fucking forget checking every week, and you know, I'm at the
they're
point.
The ones you want though, because like I know sometimes you look at a client, if they sent you a couple of videos to like critique, if they sent you even pictures outside of check-in, which is still fine, things like that, I know I've got a peace of mind, right? They're on it.
Yeah.
They're on it.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But that's why we coach, because it's actually fun. You know, when someone like asks you shit and fucking wants to know shit, and they want to.
And you get invested. Like the more I speak, the more we'll get to know each other. The more I'll invest in your journey, and like I'll want. Whereas, like, you get some people who just, you know, it might just be the briefest of check-ins. It's like, there's your weight. Oh,
yeah.
Like
how's your sleep?
like
good.
One bit,
appetite, good.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
All these things. You're there just thinking like, I'm just going to guesstimate this week's changes, like.
And then you give them like a half-assed check-in, because based off what you've got, that's all you can respond to. Like the feedback is, you got to give them the feedback in response to what they've given you. So
yeah. Well, how many strikes will you give someone until they're out, mate? Like, let's say they forget check-in 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. How long till like?
So I mean, I'm at the point now where, like, I will remind people to check in every week. Like, out of all the clients I've had today, I've had to remind one, and he said he would, and he hasn't. I will remind him next week, but I won't. Like,
you're out.
But at the end of the day, like, as hard as it sounds, I don't mind having a few clients like that, because if they keep paying month on month, do you know what I mean? Like,
so yeah, I know.
It's not inspiring.
Spoke about this. I think it was yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Had the trouble with one of your clients, and I was literally like, "What are you so bothered?" I used to be like that, because you almost take it like an insult. Like, I'm putting my time into you, and you don't bother checking in. You don't bother, so you take it as an insult. But really, they're at loss. They're paying money.
I think what it is because it is a reflection of me, and I know this guy's got good genetics, and I know that he's got a bit of muscle, and I know he could be good. And I just get annoyed because I am invested in him. I've had him for about 18 months now, so I'm a bit invested. So 18 months deep, and he's good, and we get on really, really well, and then he just sends me that shit. Like,
is it off season?
He's beginning prep in a week. Yeah.
So that's.
But he's not taking it seriously. So he's going to look the same as he did this year. And don't get me wrong, that's good. But I said to him, you're going to get beat by guys who are worse than you because they're trying harder.
Yeah. But then it sounds like you're doing everything that I would. You know, you're putting it out there. You're not exactly like just like keeping quiet about it. You're letting him know.
Yeah.
You know, and outside of that, it very much is.
Yeah.
You know, up to them.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
You know, it might come a point where he's like, "Fuck, actually, you know, I need to get into gear," or it might just be like, that's. Some people are satisfied. Never be satisfied.
I know.
Do you find like people are such like opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to their effort? Like, I have one client who, in a prep, he is like 100% sharp. Like, everything gets done. Come the off season, it's almost like he's like a completely different person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what you just said, Ryan? Like, you're gonna look exactly the same next year.
Yeah. And
he does improve, but I'm like, you can improve so much more.
I mean, we all know it. So I'm going to flog a dead horse here because like we all get it, but like people just don't get how important the growth phase is. The off season, the bulk, whatever the fuck you want to call it. If you don't have a good off season, then prep is going to be the same, if not worse, because you can put yourself in a poor start position for the prep. So
how I phrase it to clients is like, when they start to like come to me and that with the aim of competing, like if that's on their initial kind of questionnaire, that's what they want to do, I will let them know that I will treat them very differently to if they didn't put that. And I will say that, like, you know, whether we're going into a growth phase off the bat or not, your prep has started for your competition. Like, you're on prep, whether we're pushing food up or taking food down. And same to, like, you know, more often than not, you'll get a client. I get clients anyway, and it's like, I want to do a show in like 18 weeks, so we'll start a prep. And then when we come to the end of that prep, then I'll be like, right, you know, this isn't the end of prep. This is just the continuation of prep. You're now, you know, what you want to do moving forwards, unless they want to fucking just jack it all in. Like, there is now, you know, even if it's a year from now, like, you're prepping. Once you're in bodybuilding, I've been prepping for 12 years. I would say that. Because every time I've finished a prep, there has been another goal that I need to kind of work towards, and I don't want to waste any time. And that seems to sort of resonate with more people than not. I've certainly had some, really positive results recently with people transitioning out of prep, like very professionally. And I can tell from their pictures, I can tell from their feedback. And then we go into an off season, they can actually start an off season in a place where they haven't just spent, 4 weeks eating like a fucking arsehole, and now they look awful.
Yeah.
So if you're in a poor place to start prep, but they still want to start prep, would you still start prep and still let them do it? Or would you say, no, you can't, you gotta?
Depends how poor, depends who they are. So a couple of instances, if they're fat but muscle, then I'll say this is going to suck, but we can do it. If they haven't really got the tissue, then it's just explaining like, why are you doing this? If it's because like my first show, like there would have been a lot of coaches, a lot of people who would have said, don't, like, you're just going to be a skinny kid on stage. But I was more than happy for that, because I wanted to step on stage and see if I liked it and go through the experience, almost like just that personal challenge, to experience that discipline. And that's all some people want. Some people just want to experience a prep. It's not even that they want to, they want to step on stage, but not necessarily for like Instagram or for anything, just to be like, I have been a bodybuilder, I have done that, and now I can tick that box off. So if that's it, then I'll take them on. Where one occasion recently where I've like not encouraged a prep was like a girl. She was already pretty skinny, and basically coming off the back of what I found out when we grew our relationship more, like an eating disorder. And if I'd continued, that would have just exacerbated it. Where instead I said, listen, I'd like to, put you through an off-season phase, without phrasing it quite like that. But yeah. And then we have dieted recently, and she looks healthier, better, feels better, looks better, has shape. So yeah.
What's her relationship with food like?
Fine. Like she literally, she put her thing on my Q&A the other day. She was like, because her and her partner are buying a house, so they're stopping with me for a period, and she was like, how am I going to cope? What if I fall back into old ways? Like I'm not. And I said, listen, you've spent a year with me, you haven't had any issues with food. Like you've got this. Do you know what I mean? Like, whether she has or not, like, she knows I'm there. So like, and that's just where like I think, just that level of support is important. For some people, it's not a psychological issue, so you kind of can just let them crack on. But I know that other people might need that just reassurance, just in case.
So even if someone's left you, but provided it was on good terms and you like them as a person, and they ask you for a little bit of help, you're still happy to.
100%, because I've left. I don't think I've ever. The only clients who I've like don't work with again are clients that I've not wanted to work with. Every client who's left me, I've left on good terms, and I'd probably say 70% of guys who have left me have come back at some point. And that's because, and yeah, like I want to have that door open, because even just from a very cold-hearted business point of view, if she spends the next 3 months messaging me once every 2 weeks, just like saying she's doing okay and asking a question here or there, and then come the end, they'll come in a position where she's able to restart, she's going to be there like that.
Yeah.
There's, I think, client retention makes life easy. I'm not someone who wants a big level of turnover. I want guys to stay with me, so I get to know them, so I get to know their bodies. And I think my longest client's like 6 or 7 years at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I hear about people being like shit, like they want to leave, and then they get like, they get into a bit of a bust up. Like the coach would be quite shitty with him, quite short with him. Yeah. And it's never been my way either. I had a guy leave me. He goes, "I'm going to come back to you in January." 5 days later, he came back. He's like, yeah, he goes, I realize I can't be trusted. So I'm like, that's cool.
I get why coaches are pissy about it, because I always have, like, I'll see my phone, I'll see the first line, and you can normally tell, like, this is going to be a bit of a sour message. Not sour, but like,
yeah.
And my initial reaction is anger, sadness, like and if I message back immediately, it would be very reactive. Like it would probably come across as like a little bit negative. But all I do is, like with a lot of things in life, you just sit back and think logically, 9 times out of 10, they've got a reason to leave. Even if they just fucking don't like you, that is fine. It's the relationship. We don't all enter relationships that we fucking like the other person. So yeah, that's one thing that I've definitely sort of learned.
That is really important. Yeah. I recently had a girl, she wanted to try someone else. So I just, fine, 100%. Like go ahead. That's also fine. She wanted to see what someone else's method's like. Yeah. So she went to someone else. she decided to come back, and she went, as soon as I came back, he then unfollowed me, and like, and it's almost like it's not what you do. It's not how you run a business, is it?
I think, like, if you can do that, it shows confidence in your own ability. Like, I've had a couple of calls lately with slightly higher up kind of female clients, potential female clients. And at the end of it, I've said, like, am I the only coach you're speaking to? And one has said yes, and one has said no. The one who said yes has said, get in touch with some other coaches. You know what I mean? Like, get a feel for people. You're in a position where, don't just jump to me because I'm the first one there. Do you know what I mean? Like, find, like, if you like what I'm saying, then great. And if not, and I think that just shows that, you can't, and again, it's relationships. So, at the end of the day, a lot of us know exactly the same shit, and it's just how we put it across and the ability to connect with an individual.
Yeah.
It's you as the individual. Do they like you, and do they like the way that you portray your message?
And do they trust you?
How you get them to give their 100%?
I get. Well, the trust comes from whether your experience or how you'll work with other clients. So providing you've got those things, then that's it.
Before we go, do you want to do your top 5 for this?
I was going to do this. Yeah.
Okay, top 5 for the Olympia. Oh god, this goes back to what I said about not really giving a fuck about too many pros. Fortunately, I've been watching a little bit of Nick's Strength for Power lately. I know he's been chatting all sorts. So, I think just so top 5 that I think it will be, not necessarily that I would like it to be. I think Ramy will win. I think Bonak will be in the top 3. I think from what I've seen, he looks good. I think Hadi will be there again, so somewhere 2 or 3. People talk a lot about Nick Walker. I'm not like I like Nick as a bodybuilder. I don't really think he has the frame to be that high. But I think just given the talk and given also the fact that he has proven himself, he'll be in that top 5 to 6. I know I said who I think and versus who I want, but I do think, like, from what I've seen, like, Hunter Labrada's made some fantastic improvements. Like, he looks a lot bigger. But he's like, I find like him and Nick very comparable, just he has the shape, whereas Nick just doesn't. So I'd have him in there. That is 5.
Curry?
Oh yeah, Curry. Yeah, I mean, he will be in there. I don't see how he can't be. I want Samson to be in there, like, and I think he can be.
He does look really good.
It just depends on if he's too new of a face.
Do you compete against Samson at any point?
I haven't. No. I
can do now.
I can do now. Yeah. I nearly competed against Stas when he won like intermediate over 90s back when I think like 2012, but he didn't do the finals because I remember seeing him at the finals and he looked a bit fat and I was like, oh, you compete? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, not that I fucking placed. I was like stood at the back of the stage for most of it. How does that compare to like what you guys think? Because like I said, like pro bodybuilding.
I think it's similar.
Thereabouts. Personally, I wouldn't have Hunter in there. I know what you're saying. He has made improvements. He's very good. For me, he lacks that detail. Modern bodybuilders are almost criticized for lacking detail.
Yeah.
For me, he epitomizes that. He epitomizes it almost looks smoothed over.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think it's a condition, like, or maturity sort of thing?
Maybe. I don't know, because his old man was fucking detailed as hell, right? Maybe it's like when you grow very, very fast.
Yeah, I think that definitely has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Hadi, Nick and Hunter both, like, Hadi, Nick and Bonak compare really well together.
Yeah.
So they'll be kind of like interchangeable.
Yeah.
You can have like either one of them for being second.
Yeah. I am excited for it, to be fair. Like, I'm more excited for this Olympia than I have been previously. But I still haven't necessarily paid enough attention. Like, I just want to see like people that I like and know kind of like, I'd like Hunter to do well because I like Ben who coaches him. I'd like James to do well because James is a British legend, and he's just such a nice guy. I'd like Sam to do well because again he's a nice guy, but also has one of the most insane physiques, and from the size he looks like he is. If he can dial it in, it's going to be wacky.
Yeah, agreed, man. Agreed.
But I mean, there are so many like I know like just from listening to Nick's Strength and Power, like he's talking about guys who are going to be outside the top 10, and you're like, fucking hell, I forgot you're even there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's mental.
Hey, this lineup, mate. It's getting top 20 at this fucking Olympia is like it's like
genuinely
a
an
top
achievement.
10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
And you've still got like Andrew Jacked, and you got all these guys that we don't even bring up, man.
Yeah, think about that. Andrew Jacked and Samson could be out of the top 10, like guys of that fucking level.
No, yeah.
It's insane.
Like they're talking about James even getting close to the top 10. Like it is mental. And
James looks like, to me, like when you look at the lineup, he's more of a 15th kind of like level.
Yeah,
which is no shame, by the way. It's unbelievable.
I know, which sounds like if you said to someone on the street, "Oh, like one of the best British bodybuilders, like probably going to come 15th," they'd be like, "Oh, that's shit." I'd be like,
it's not real. Yeah, it's crazy, crazy.
Especially when like this year, everyone's there. Like everyone good is like there, you know.
Yeah, there's a couple, Regan and Nath Asher. There's a couple of names that could be, but other than that, it's a who's who in it.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right then. We'll wrap up there, mate. Josh, thank you so much for your time, mate. Really appreciate it.
It's been a good chat, mate. Pleasure.
Nice chat. Yeah.
Catch you later, boys.